All right, President Trump is doing a lot of things to get a lot of investors' attention, but also to get a lot of people's attention the world over, including his attempt to ease up on illegals who somehow just go right through the border. Former Bush 43 Deputy Chief of Staff Karl Rove with us right now. He's back to looking at executive order, which would, I guess, put in place the mechanics how you would get a wall going, whether it's a physical wall, or who pays for it, all of that other stuff. Still to be decided. But what do you think of that? It is not being warmly received and reported on in Mexico.
Well, of course not. Look, first of all, a little bit of this is kabuki. 700 miles of wall was authorized in 2006 in what was called the Secure Fence Act, but only money was appropriated that is only allowed about 352 miles of wall to be built. So there's part of this is taking steps to say we're going to move forward on this, but ultimately he's going to need to go to Congress and say I need some money to at least finish out the authorization that you gave for 700 miles of wall, and he may ask for additional miles of wall to be built. Now remember, it doesn't make sense to build a wall every mile of the border. In fact, we have a 1,254-mile border between Texas and Mexico that's river, and you need a wall where there are river crossings or in metropolitan areas where there's population, but you don't need a wall in the far west part of Texas where literally the Mexican border is suspended about 800 or 900 feet in the air, and the U.S. border is about 1,100 feet in the air, and the Santa Elena Canyon, which is about 150 miles along in the Big Bend. So, you know, some of this is really important for him to say, I'm going to move on this. Some of this is important because he has executive authority to do some things like on secure, on extreme vetting, but some of this is going to require additional action before it can be fulfilled.
Now, we've paid a lot of attention to his executive orders, memoranda. Sometimes I have trouble distinguishing the difference here, but the gist of it is to look like you're reversing your predecessor's executive orders that you found, or in Republicans in general, found onerous and burdensome. But eventually, and a lot of this stuff, it will involve Congress going along, right? I mean, how likely would it be on the wall thing, on the easing up on refugees thing, on maybe declaring the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization, something else that he's apparently cooking up? How will that be received, and then what's the follow-through?
Well, look, it depends on the specific, but he is going to have strong support for a number of measures among Republicans. There are going to be other measures in which he's going to have to depend upon more Democrat votes in order to get it through. So it really depends on the specifics. I know we get excited at this point in the president's administration about 100 days. We keep talking about the 100 days. But it's an artificial construct. We've only really had 100-day period in which a lot of legislation was done. That was in 1933. Franklin Roosevelt had 2 more months to prepare for it since we didn't inaugurate our presidents until March back then.
That's right.
He had huge majorities in the House and Senate, and he got a lot done in 100 days. But otherwise, it really takes 200 or 300 days to get things done. If you get it done quicker than that, sometimes you tend to get it done wrong. Witness the stimulus bill done within the first 100 days of Barack Obama's administration, a grab bag of things that didn't really have the effect that what happened to all those shovel-ready jobs.
Well, you're right about that, to say nothing of, you know, a couple of years later or a year and a half later when we had the Health Care Act, that sometimes even allowing for time doesn't necessarily mean that you've made good use of it. But stepping back from this, how do you think he's getting off to this? There's been much media consternation over his fight over crowd size of the inauguration, but losing sight of the fact of all this other stuff he's doing. But how do you think it's going?
Look, I think there are 2 presidencies here. One is doing really well. It was the disciplined president who had a series of meetings on Monday with business leaders, union leaders, issued a series of executive orders reinstituting pro-life policies abroad and withdrawing actions of President Obama. On Tuesday, he had meetings with car manufacturers and continued the stream of orders. Today, we're having executive orders and executive actions on immigration, and that one is looking good. But the other presidency we're seeing is one where they are bringing upon themselves, in my opinion, unnecessary and dilatory controversies. Who cares who got more people? Can you really, is it really important to the future of our country that President Trump get everybody to agree that he had more people at his inaugural than President Obama
Carl,
did in 2009? Is it really useful for the administration for him to tell congressional leaders, hey, I had 3 million people who voted for her illegally, otherwise I would have won the popular vote? Is it really useful to engage in those kind of controversies?
I agree with you, but what do you think, Carl, if what he's up to here is just to send out a message right from the get-go? Everything that you say about me, anything that you leap on and say that is damaging to me, I'm going to be like stink gun, you know what, with it. And he might not even concur. I could be wrong, but it's a crackpot theory.
Look. There are 2 photographs, both of them taken at just before noon on January 20th, 2009 and January 20th, 2017, and they show the crowds on the mall. And it's clear who has more people there. Does it really help the president to say, well, I really won the popular vote. I lost by 2.9 million in the official count, but those included 3 to 5 million illegal people who shouldn't have voted without any proof whatsoever? I mean, please, get done with this. This will eat away at his credibility. If not here in the country, it will eat away at his credibility abroad. I was in Europe last week. They're scratching their heads at these kind of controversies. Yeah. So I don't think it advances his cause. The cause is advanced by doing the things that he said he would do on the campaign trail. It's not advanced by getting involved in these side arguments that cause people to scratch their heads and say, what is he thinking?
Yeah, I was there, and it was a smaller crowd. Now, I'm not besmirching that. I mean, it would be tough to compare to Obama's.
But it was an historic moment, the first African-American chief executive in the country's history who won by a significant margin, versus 8 years later when Donald Trump, a controversial candidate, 18% of the electorate said neither Hillary Clinton nor Donald Trump was qualified to be president, and they voted for him by 20 points. So he becomes the fifth American president to win the White House without a popular majority. Yeah. So who would have expected him to have more people at his inaugural than Barack Obama? And who cares?
You're so right. I'm so sorry for even raising the point. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank
Karl Rove. Well, you know, the media is obsessed by these kind of stories, to Carl's point. Investors, not so much.